Today we are ranking the top 24 tight ends in fantasy football for 2023, starting our preliminary rankings for these positions. So again, this is going to be subject to change up until the point where the season starts. However, this is where we're going to rank them as of today. Do us a huge favor. We're trying to get this channel to grow, so make sure you like this video. Please do that, and make sure you are also subscribed. Helps us out a ton, trying to get our subscribers up. We got merch over on the Dynasty Domain page. If you're not on Dynasty Domain, you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, head over there as well. Check out Fozzie Football as well. We're partnering with them. Use code DOMAIN. You get a discount with on their website. And today, like I said, we're going to rank the top 24 tight ends in fantasy. So starting with the S tier, the only guy that we're going to have in the S tier this year, the only guy that we're 100% certain is going to produce at an elite level, and this is at this point, it's every single year, is Travis Kelsey. And Travis Kelsey, obviously playing with Patrick Mahomes, those two unstoppable, one of the best tight end QB duos of all time, if not the best. Year after year, Travis Kelsey comes out, puts up better numbers than a lot of wide receivers without tight end premiums. If you're playing in tight end premium leagues, though, you know just how valuable Travis Kelsey is. There's not a ton to be said here. He's obviously locked in for this year. He's going to be playing on a team that's going to be contending for a Super Bowl. A team with no clear-cut wide receiver one, again, because Travis Kelsey is so dominant. So, obviously, Travis Kelsey is going to be hyper valuable in your fantasy leagues. And moving down to the A tier, we're going to start here with Mark Andrews.
Yeah, so I guess this could be a little bit debatable. Some people might have Andrews up there with Kelsey in the same tier, the S tier, but we're going to have Andrews a tier down because, yes, while Andrews did outproduce Kelsey a season ago, the Ravens are going into a new, probably offensive style this year with Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, long-term offensive coordinator there in Baltimore, exiting, and they're probably going to have a new system, a new style of play, and while that does mean that Lamar Jackson will probably be passing the ball more, I'm not sure how much that means Andrews will get like more dominant volume. I think he'll still be as dominant as he has been in the past, but I'm not sure he can get to the elite level and really match what Kelsey's going to do this season. We're still a huge believer in him, though, and we really, really like him and uncomfortable here with him as the unquestioned tight end, too. And then Hawkinson is going to be close behind, obviously playing in the same offense as Justin Jefferson, which really is going to help him in his production. He was a great red zone threat last season with the Vikings, and I think that's going to continue. He's going to get some decent, consistent volume, anywhere from probably 6 to 10 targets in a game, 10 at most. I mean, 6, I would assume at the minimum he's going to get, with Cousins being able to support high-producing passing game assets there in fantasy, and Hawkinson's going to be one of those guys. And then Kittle's going to be backing up this tier here, and I think honestly you can make an argument for him to even be, ahead of Andrews if you wanted him to. He has his upside. He's the only guy that from a game-by-game perspective, he can score as many points, if not more, than Travis Kelsey can. Like, his ceiling is as high as the elite of the elite. We're just concerned overall with what that offense is going to look like. Yes, it's Kyle Shanahan. Yes, we love what he does with offenses and just the weapons overall there, but Kittle does have he's struggled to stay consistently healthy throughout the season, and obviously the QBs there are just in question right now. Is Sam Darnold going to start? Is Brock Purdy going to start? Is Lance going to start? Is there going to be a consistent QB starting all season? I would wager not, and that's probably going to hurt Kittle's production just a little bit from a game-by-game consistency perspective, but again, his ceiling is going to be just as high as these guys.
Yeah, and moving down to the B tier here, we're going to have Dallas Goedert first. With Dallas Goedert, that's somebody that we think is going to take a step in the right direction in terms of their production year over year. Where do we think that production is going to come from? Probably from Devonta Smith. If we had to guess that, we don't think Devonta Smith is going to be repeating his wide receiver 1 season. We do think he's going to be a wide receiver 2. But with the targets that Devonta Smith's not getting, I think you have to assume that Dallas Goedert's going to be getting those targets. So with that being said, Dallas Goedert, very consistent, playing in a high-powered offense with the Philadelphia Eagles, playing with a quarterback in Jalen Hurts that has proven, number one, that he likes Dallas Goedert, but number two, that he can support multiple wide receivers and a tight end in fantasy. So with Dallas Goedert, we think he's a very safe pick. We think he's getting to be some of the last of the elite tight ends here, and the other one's going to be Kyle Pitts. So looking at what Kyle Pitts did last year, obviously it was a big disappointment. Obviously the Falcons ran the ball a lot, and when you look at the Atlanta Falcons' outlook for this year, it's hard to argue with the fact that Bijan Robinson is probably going to get the majority of their entire offensive workload. Now, Does that mean Drake London won't produce? No, it doesn't. And it also doesn't mean that Kyle Pitts won't produce. So because of that, we do think Kyle Pitts has a little bit of a bounce back year. Remember, Kyle Pitts has absolutely flashed, even though last year wasn't great. Kyle Pitts was a guy that in his rookie year, 1,000 yards his rookie year. So he's done it. We think he's going to bounce back this year, have a better year. We think they're going to plan to use him a little bit more. And then in the C tier, we're going to start here with Evan Ingram.
Yeah, so Evan Ingram started, or he finished as an elite tight end last season, which was quite an accomplishment for him. I think he ended overall as tight end 6 and really took the place of Zach Ertz, who got injured midway through the season. And he started putting up like elite level production, had an awesome game with Trevor Lawrence. I think he scored over 40 points once in tight end premium leagues. And this guy has that upside. And as long as he is tied to Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense, he is going to have that game by game upside. We just think with the weapons that they've brought in during the offseason, we're not high on Calvin Ridley, but that does affect Evan Ingram for sure. And then they even got some wide receivers through the draft as well. So after Evan Ingram, we're going to have Pat Freiermuth, who is obviously with the Pittsburgh Steelers tied to Kenny Pickett, and the receiving room there is going to consist of Freiermuth, Pickens, and Deontay Johnson primarily. So I think with Freiermuth, the most attractive thing for him is going to be his red zone capability and what he can do there with Kenny Pickett throwing the ball. Pickett is kind of a limited quarterback in when it comes to, I guess, athletic upside and fantasy upside, which means he's going to be taking probably a lot of the easier throws, the shorter throws in the short to intermediate game, and Pat Freiermuth is going to reap the benefits of that for sure. Darren Waller, who is going to be on the Giants this year, after signing that big deal with the Raiders and then they traded him off, there's not many receiving threats in New York outside of, Wan'Dale Robinson, who's coming off a torn ACL. Sleepers trying to make Paris Campbell sound like an exciting guy to own in fantasy, and that's just wrong. And then Saquon Barkley, really. So Waller has plenty of volume, plenty of opportunity there, and really just a bare offense from a receiving perspective. And he could put up. He has the upside to put up elite tight end numbers like he has in the past for the Raiders. And then Dalton Schultz, who is going to a new situation as well, playing with CJ Stroud. We always love the pairing of experienced veteran tight ends being tied with rookie inexperienced quarterbacks. And this is really going to be a duo that's just overlooked in the offseason at the tight end position. And Dalton Schultz, who is very productive as a tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, I think is going to be as productive, if not more productive, in Houston this season. I think he's definitely ready for some solid, consistent target volume there. He's not, competing with a CeeDee Lamb in the receiving game. And I think he's going to get a lot of targets from CJ Stroud, who has a lot to learn in the NFL. And then at the end of this tier is going to be David Njoku, who's with Deshaun Watson, a more crowded receiving room with Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, even Cedric Tillman, and David Bell, who could do something this year as well. Deshaun Watson, while he played poorly last season, he hadn't played in a very long time. And I think he's going to take a step up from a fantasy perspective this year. They're going to ask him to pass the ball a lot more. And Njoku is a big-bodied, contested catch, successful tight end that can do a lot really anywhere on the field, but especially in the red zone. You can just kind of toss the ball up to him on contested catch plays, maybe throw a fade to him as well, and he's going to get that ball, bring it down, and get you some points in fantasy leagues.
Yeah, and moving down to the D tier here, we're going to start with Zach Ertz, and we all know what Zach Ertz is capable of when he's healthy. The problem with Zach Ertz, it's top
numbers.
6 easily every year. The problem is Zach Ertz not staying healthy at a super high rate anymore, and also he's getting up there in age, and also they do have Trey McBride now. So do we still believe in Zach Ertz? Clearly we do, and clearly we believe in him enough to rank him on this list and not rank Trey McBride. With that being said, probably not going to finish in the top 6 this year coming off of that ACL. Just typically how it goes with guys recovering from that. Dalton Kincaid's going to be next, and we're being conservative here. Dalton Kincaid is a guy in Dynasty is going to be like a top 7 tight end already, but in fantasy, we're going to be realistic with rookie tight ends and their rookie season production. While the Buffalo Bills do not have an abundant amount of weapons outside of Stephon Diggs, in my opinion, in your opinion as well, we just don't think it's going to be the rookie tight end that comes in and takes all of that. It's going to be, like it was last year, a combination of Gabe Davis. It's going to be a combination of guys like James Cook and Damian Harris. So and even Dawson Knox still. So with Dalton Kincaid, we're going to be a little bit more careful with him. Tyler Higbee is on this list. Tyler Higbee had a good year last year. He's also going to be relevant. Matt Stafford and him clearly have some chemistry, so he's going to be somebody that you could be picking up if you're needing a waiver wire pickup. Typically, that's what we're talking about outside of these top 12 tight ends.
Highest target volume of the guys in this tier for sure, outside of Ertz, who's down here with the ACL tear. But I mean, Higbee is just he got upwards of 11 targets last season. It was just ridiculous. And then once Stafford got hurt, like he won some people playoff games and even some championships at the end of the season. So that was pretty nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Chig Okonkwo is going to be next. And Chig, we're going to be realistic with him as well. We don't think that he's going to be superb this year. We don't think he's going to break fantasy. We don't think he's going to be, what is this, tight end 13 or something now? So that's about where we have him. And again, outside of there's a pretty big gap between the first 4 or 5 tight ends and then the bottom 7. And you're talking about like a top 12, top 13 ranking. So Cole Kmet's kind of the same way. He's playing on an offense where there's very little passing volume, where he's going to be now competing with targets for DJ Moore. So given that, we're not expecting a whole lot from Cole Kmet this year. And then Gerald Everett from the Chargers. Playing with Justin Herbert, you always have the upside. However, we've seen
it's inconsistent.
Even Gerald Everett, when he was in Seattle, was producing at least some level. He has been inconsistent. So I think for that reason alone, we're going to put him here. All right, dropping down to the F tier.
Yeah, so Greg Dulcich showed some legitimate flashes as a rookie last season, way sooner than anyone really expected for a rookie tight end. And now going into a new year where the Broncos should hopefully, ride a little bit more than they did last season with an actual coach in Sean Payton. I think Payton could actually, do some things with Greg Dulcich in that offense, get a little creative, have a little fun with, a very talented tight end that we loved from the first time we saw him at the NFL Combine last year in person. And with him, I think he's got a little bit of upside here. But again, a second-year tight end, there's only so much you can ask of those guys. It just takes him a while to develop, so we're going to be conservative with his ranking, but hopeful on what he could do, and he might be a guy worth drafting in the late rounds of your fantasy startup, or if you can get him off waivers as well, which I would assume most people do. Michael Mayer is going to be the next guy who is going to be the tight end 1 tied to Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's really exciting because we're not comparing Michael Mayer to George Kittle, but seeing the duo of Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle over the past few years has been really nice from a fantasy perspective. I mean, Kittle is elite. It is an elite tight end, but there was something to be said that Jimmy Garoppolo was the one that was supporting that. He loves those easy targets. He's not going to force anything downfield, which means that he will take a lot of the short to intermediate shots, and Michael Mayer could get some of that in the Raiders offense. Then Juwan Johnson, who had some pretty solid production last year for New Orleans as well, is going to be in the middle of this F tier, the middle of this pack. This is a guy that, if you have one of your top tight ends on a bye, or you're struggling with injury during the season, you can pick this guy up off waivers, plug him in, and you're feeling good about your chances of him maybe putting up, 8 to 12 points in that game for you. And then I'll have you take care of Taysom Hill.
Yeah, so with Taysom Hill, I mean, we make the joke about Taysom Hill all the time that, if you're not getting one of the top 6 tight ends, why not just get Taysom Hill? In reality, you're already getting the headlines out of training camp. Taysom Hill's everywhere. He's being used as a Swiss Army knife. But you never know what to expect. Like, you don't know, okay, is he starting at quarterback this week? Is he starting at tight end? Is he going to even play? When he plays, he's going to score a touchdown. I mean, the guy, I don't think he's as good of a true tight end as Juwan Johnson, which is why Juwan Johnson was ranked ahead of him. However, with Taysom Hill, you can never count him out because he always is just going to go out there and do something that nobody expects him to. Sam Laporta, a guy that I'm personally very high on. Honestly, I think he could finish higher than this in his rookie year. I think we're being very conservative like we were with Dalton Kincaid, but I think he has just as much rookie year of production upside as Dalton Kincaid does in a very high-octane offense. The difference being, obviously, he's playing around a lot of weapons and some better weapons in that Detroit Lions offense, including Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown. But again, with Sam Laporta, he's a very athletic tight end. He's from tight end U. He's stepping into a first-year situation with Jared Goff that is favorable for him producing right out of the gate. So, like Sam Laporta and Dawson Knox, look, Dawson Knox got replaced by Dalton Kincaid, and that's really funny. I mean, honestly, to me, it's just kind of hilarious. But context, I know some of you are new. We were really low on Dawson Knox last year after he was a tight end 1 and everybody was drafting him way too high. So with Dawson Knox, again, he's probably going to be the tight end 2 there, so we're not going to be doing much with him unless either Kincaid doesn't earn a starting spot there, which is possible.
He has chemistry and experience with Josh Allen that's, pre-earned. So
yeah, and you've got the last two guys in the G tier.
Yeah, so Irv Smith is really filling the shoes that Hayden Hurst left when he went to Carolina. And Hayden Hurst produced decently for a guy that no one really expected to do anything. You could almost get him off waivers or in a lot of, dynasty leagues. We play a lot of dynasty last season, but the same thing here. There's just going to be a lot of volume there with Joe Burrow. Obviously, you're not expecting a lot of high upside, high amount of points here, but with Irv Smith, he could surprise some people. Obviously, everyone's been expecting him to produce every single year since he came into the league and was a first-round draft pick, like 4 years ago, and now he's getting an opportunity in Cincinnati. Something to keep an eye on. And the Mike Gesicki, who really was just pushed out of Miami because it was just so overloaded with talent in that offense. He was productive and performed as a tight end one just 2 seasons ago. He's absolutely capable of doing that in New England's offense, which is much more or much less explosive. And Mac Jones isn't going to be forcing the ball downfield as much. Gesicki could be a favorite target for him this season. But again, we're tampering our expectations for him. It's been a while since he's produced. I think one of the things that we really want to enforce here, and we didn't want to give away our secrets at the beginning of the video, but this is something that we have done a ton of research on with tight ends in fantasy, in tight end premium leagues and non-tight end premium leagues. Here's what we will say about tight end premium leagues. If you're playing in any sort of premium that's like a half-point premium or higher, you should absolutely be targeting a top 6 tight end, ideally a top 4 producing tight end. That's Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle, Goedert, and Pitts. Outside of the top 6, we personally would recommend that punt. Completely forget the position until the end of your draft or even going into just picking a guy up off waivers. Like, that is how insignificant tight ends are to contributing to you winning fantasy championships past the top 6. It gets even worse when you're not playing in a tight end premium league. If you're non-tight end premium, Kelsey is accounting for more than 30% of champions in fantasy, which means past him, there's really an argument to be made that you could just completely forget about the tight end position after Kelsey because it's such a step down. I would say if you still want to gun for Kittle or Andrews, as long as you're not reaching for them in non-tight end premium leagues, it's probably worth grabbing them. But outside of that, it's probably just not worth the risk unless you're getting those tight ends at really good value.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. And you can work the waivers with tight ends. The waivers are pretty. Yeah. Guys like Tyler Higbee, guys like Hayden Hurst were waiver guys last year. So Taysom Hill. Yeah. All right. Let us know what you think of the top 24 fantasy tight end rankings. Make sure you like this video and make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you're subscribed over at Dynasty Domain as well. We've got merch over there on that channel you can check out if you want to. There's Fozzie Football. Make sure you check them out as well and use code DOMAIN. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you later.